All right, I think we are good. Yay! So it's Friday. It's time to do some questions, but more importantly, I want to show you my shirt. Can you see my shirt? 43,560.
I love it.
Hey! So I'm going to see how many people are. I know that number, but it's a Fort Club 43,560. There we go. All right, let's get to it. I know it's Friday and people are busy, but hey. Oh, wait, I need to share my screen now, don't I? So that you all can see it. Hey. Do 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 do. Boom, boom. Don't you hate when you get a song in your head and it's the only song in your head? And I'm so mad now. So mad. Okay. Sharing screen. We got this here. We got this here. Hey, stop that. And now I need to be able to see what you all are saying in the chat. All right, I think I'm good. I think I've got it. By golly, I think she's got it. Do 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 boom boom. Okay. Number 60. Landlord A rents space to tenant B. Tenant B agrees to rent the same space to tenant C. This is most likely A, an assignment, B, a novation, C, a sublease, or D, a net lease. Beady beady boo, beady beady boo, boom, boom. Okay, this song is going to be in my head all day, but I know what it's not. I know it is not a net lease, but just as a reminder, a net lease is where the tenant pays for like maintenance and taxes, etc., all those kind of things. So it's not net lease. So the question is it an assignment? Is it a novation? Or is it a sublease? Do 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 bop bop. And we know the answer is C, a sublease. But now we are coming back to this whole thing, novation versus an assignment. Now, my understanding is an assignment is when you give like partial you're assigning some of the responsibilities to somebody else, but not necessarily everything. And then a novation is when you're completely changing out a person or a new contract. But yes, and novation is new. It's a new person or a new contract. But I think this calls this early in the class to see what Uncle Ray has to say. I feel like if Uncle Ray was a person, he would get a shirt that said 43,560. Oh, Claudia, you didn't get to see it. Look, my 43,560 shirt. Hey, 43,560. So I think I'm gonna get one for Latoya and make her wear it like she'd ever wear something like this. But who knows? All right, let's see what Uncle Ray's got to say. Beady beady boop, beady beady boop. Oh, the song's in my head.
Now I got that song in my head.
Do you know the song? Have you ever
Yes, but I don't know the name of it. Yes, I
It's
do.
we'll play it later. We'll play it later because if it's got to be in my head, I feel like it has to be in y'all's heads too. So there's that. Um, and then if you're in the YouTube and you can't see my screen, let me know. My screen just went blank, but I think it's just the way it comes into me. But either way. Hey, Uncle Ray. When I'm teaching students, what is the difference between an assignment and an ovation? What's an easy way for students to understand the difference between an assignment of, let's say, a lease or an ovation of a lease versus a sublease?
Hey, Candace, absolutely. Let's break it down in a friendly way for your students. So think of an assignment as basically a handoff. If a tenant is assigning their lease, they're passing all their rights and responsibilities to a new tenant. The original tenant is still kind of on the hook if something goes wrong, but mostly they're just stepping out of the picture and letting a new person step in. A novation, on the other hand, is like a full-on replacement. Imagine you're not just handing the baton to the next runner, you're actually swapping them entirely in the race. In a novation, the landlord basically agrees to release the original tenant completely and create a brand new lease contract with the new tenant. It's like the old tenant was never there at all, contract wise. And a sublease, that's more like the original tenant is becoming a mini landlord. They're still on the hook with the actual landlord, but they're renting out the place to someone else under them. So the original tenant is still kind of in charge and still responsible for the lease, but they've got a subtenant in place. So in a nutshell, assignment is the handoff with the original tenant kind of lingering in the background. Novation is a full replacement of tenants, and a sublease is like the original tenant becoming a middle manager.
Okay, so I was right. I just wanted to make sure, but I love what Uncle Ray said about him being a middleman. So in the sublease, he's a middleman. So in that assignment, I was correct. There is still a little bit of responsibility for that original tenant. Again, I don't think it's fair to ask us the difference between assignment and novation. That seems like an attorney type thing. But we should know sublease, and we should know that the word here is also known as a sandwich lease. So there you go, Uncle Ray to the rescue. And I know there are people watching on YouTube. I just want to make sure they can see it. So if anybody is watching on YouTube and wants to tell me in the chat, hey, you can see my screen, that would be great. I'm actually going to try refreshing just to make sure, and hopefully that makes sure to everybody else, makes sense to everybody else as well. All right, number 61. A tenant rents an apartment from a landlord. The tenant pays rent and the landlord pays all of the expenses. This is it A, a net lease, B, a proprietary lease, C, a triple net lease, or D, a gross lease? Bop, bop. Dang. What do we have here? All right, Caroline, you're saying D. We got a D here. Well, we know it's not net lease because I just said up there it's where the tenant pays. And I like to think of it as you got a net lease and then tenant. If you got N-E-T, you got T-E-N over there. So tenant and net. So it's not a net lease, otherwise known as a triple net lease. Don't even worry about the difference. It's just how many things you're paying, blah, 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 blah. But it's not that. So is it a gross lease or proprietary? Yeah, Caroline, triple net and triple are the same. Proprietary lease, gross lease. Now the answer is in fact a gross lease, but what is a proprietary lease? Boo 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 boo.
I really don't think I heard of that one before.
You have, it's just
Have
on
I?
the tip of your tongue. Think of something that has to do with the word C, not cookie, not carrots. Although now that I've said carrots.
I like carrots, and you should too. It goes.
Wait, did I share my sound? Let's see, did I share my sound? Yes, I did. Okay.
I like carrots, and you should too. It goes crunch, 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 and it's good for you. We like carrots, and you should too. It goes crunch, crunch, crunch.
But it's for co-ops. Remember, in a co-op, and I guess there should be a little dash there, but in a co-op or cooperative, the corporation owns the building. And then if you want to live there, you buy shares or stocks in the company. And then that gets you a proprietary lease, which allows you to live there. That sound familiar now? I'm hoping so. Yes. Yay. So there's that. Okay. Yay. Okay. 63. What phase environmental assessment creates a management plan for a hazardous waste area? which phase environmental assessment or what phase environmental assessment creates a management plan for the hazardous waste area? Now, I'm sitting here looking at this, guys. I know I've heard of a phase one, that's the initial one. But usually you're just checking out in a phase one, environmental assessment. That's what if you're going to be building something in an area and they're thinking, oh, this might have an environmental impact, but there's usually not a plan unless you find something that's wrong. And then you move to a phase two, which is going to be more in depth, but I don't know if it creates a plan. And of course, remember, I just got this answer key online and I got no clue to what the answer is. So we're going to have to ask Uncle Ray. I don't even know if there is a phase three or phase four. I know there's a phase two. I don't even know. Caroline, right? I don't know either. So you know what? Got to call the man. Got to ask the man. It is. Hey, Uncle Ray, which phase environmental assessment creates a management plan for the hazardous waste area? Is it a phase one, a phase two, a phase three, and a phase four? And if a phase three and a phase four is a thing, can you tell me the difference between all the levels?
Hey there, Candace. Absolutely. I can walk you through it. So, in the world of environmental site assessments, you usually hear about phase one, phase two, and phase three. Each of these phases has a pretty distinct role. Phase one is basically your initial reconnaissance. It's a non-invasive look at the property's history and current use. Think of it as a paper trail review and a site inspection to see if there's any reason to suspect contamination. Phase two kicks it up a notch. If phase one suggests there might be issues, phase two involves actual sampling and testing, like soil, groundwater, and so on, to confirm if contamination is actually present. Phase three is where you're really getting into the nitty gritty of dealing with the contamination. This phase is all about the remediation plan. That means you're figuring out how to manage, clean up, or contain the hazardous substances. So when you mention a management plan for the hazardous waste area, that's typically happening in phase three. As for phase four, it's not always officially labeled that way in every scenario, but sometimes you'll hear that term used to talk about ongoing monitoring or long-term maintenance. Essentially, after you've done your cleanup, phase four would be about keeping an eye on the site to make sure everything stays safe and compliant in the long run. So in short, phase one, identify potential issues. Phase two, confirm if contamination is there. Create and implement the management or remediation plan. Phase four, if used, ongoing monitoring after the cleanup. Hope that helps. Let me know if you need any more details.
All right. Yay, Uncle Ray. Uncle Ray is always coming to the rescue. Oh, hey, Claudia, you can see my screen. Oh, good, Claudia. That is amazing. There's another Claudia on YouTube. And so you passed your broker license in California. And when you passed it, you were saying boom chakalaka. So first, we have to get you a
good job, good job. Good job, good job. G-double-O-D-J-O-B. Good job, good job.
And we got to give you a...
My money don't jiggle, jiggle, it folds. I like to see you wiggle, wiggle, for sure.
I wish I had like all the money in the world. I would send every single one of you one of my 43,560. And like, I feel like there should be a stamp on it that says, I passed. And then 43,560. I wonder if I can do that. An I pass stamp on my 43,560. Anyway, congratulations, Miss Claudia. I'm so glad if I could be helpful. And there's a Claudia on the Zoom in the Zoom room. So Claudia, she says, congratulations, other fellow Claudia. So there we go. Yay. Oh my God, it'd be so cute if it said 43,560. So make sure y'all can see it. And then it crossed this side, it said, I passed. Oh my gosh, that would be so cute. All right, so let me write down what Uncle Ray said. He said phase one is, did he say it was investigation? Investigation. And I remember he said it's non-invasive. Number two is a deeper look. It's a deeper look with sampling. Phase three, which is going to be our plan for fixing. And then he said 4 is rare, but it's the ongoing maintenance. Does that make sense? I'm hoping this works. And so I just learned something. Now we know the answer is actually 3. Again, this is why we do practice questions. Because y'all, I've been doing this for how long? I didn't know off the top of my head what this was, and it's not something I want you all to put on an index card and try to memorize. But if you've seen it this one, oh, thanks, Claudia. I'm the best. I try. I try. But if you see this question on the exam, now maybe you'll think back to know, you'll know it. And that's what this is about, taking these extra questions. All right. Cool. 64. Various allergic and respiratory systems that develop in an office building and then persist even after leaving the building may be. You know what? If I get to the exam, y'all, and I get this question, I'm gonna be like, eeny, meeny, miny, what are you even talking about? What are you even talking about? But here's the thing. I mean, it could pop up, but we're not going to stress about it. We're going to see what we can eliminate and then ask Uncle Ray. Well, today we're asking Uncle Ray. Please do not ask Uncle Ray during your actual exams, because I'd really not like to see you get in trouble for cheating. But it's not OSHA, because that's, like occupational safety and health, whatever. That's who you call when you work someplace and you don't think it's safe. And we know CERCLA, the Comprehensive Environmental Response, something, CERCLA is about cleaning up a site and the Superfund amendments and all of that. So now we got BRI and SBS. And since I don't have an answer key, we've got to call the man. Hey, Uncle Ray. Various allergic and respiratory symptoms that develop in an office building and then persist even after leaving the building. Would it be BRI or SBS? And whatever the answer is, can you tell me what those initials stand for?
Hey, Candace. Absolutely. Let's dive in. So the two acronyms you're talking about are BRI and
Thank you.
SBS. BRI stands for Building Related
Yes.
Illness, which means there's actually a diagnosable illness linked to something in the building, like a contaminant that causes a specific health condition. On the other hand, SBS stands for Sick Building Syndrome, which is when people experience symptoms like headaches, dizziness, or respiratory issues while they're in a building, but those symptoms usually go away once they leave. Now, since you're saying the symptoms persist even after leaving the building, that leans more towards BRI, because that suggests there's an actual illness or condition that sticks around, not just a temporary irritation. So, yep, sounds like it's BRI in this case.
All right, and let me see what did he. Oh, I want to see. Uncle Ray, can you remind me what BRI stood for again?
Absolutely, Candace. BRI stands for Building Related Illness. It's basically a term used when you have a diagnosable illness or allergy that can be traced back to a specific building environment, like something in the air quality or ventilation that's making people sick. So it's a bit different from sick building syndrome, where the symptoms aren't tied to a specific identifiable illness. Hopefully that helps.
So he said BRI is building related illness. So it's diagnosable and you know exactly what you're allergic to. And SBS is sick building syndrome, where, it's questionable and it stops when you leave. So since the question says various allergic and respiratory systems, all right. So, and then persist after leaving the building. Okay, so I guess if it's persisting after leaving the building, what did he say? Would be SPS? Be SBS, I guess. I don't remember. But again, this is one of those, okay, I'll take my knowledge and roll on. I'm not worried about this. Again, I would have, if Uncle Ray wasn't here, have been like eeny, meeny, miny, mo. All right. Oh, and Caroline, I did mute you just because there's somebody in the background while Uncle Ray was talking. I didn't want him to pick up that other voice. But you are always welcome in the Zoom room to unmute.
Oh, I didn't
and
know I
talk.
had my mic on. Sorry.
So, no, don't worry. I love when you talk to me. I love it. All right, 65. Homes built before what year require lead-based paint disclosures? Okay, now they're just mean. Is it built before 1978, built before 1979, built before 1980, or built before 1981? I mean, these numbers are so close together, right? But we know our answer is, in fact, A. Yes. Okay, let's see. 66. A colorless, odorless gas that may cause cancer is it asbestos? Is it electromagnetic fields? Is it radon, or is it BRI? Claudia's got it. She's got a C. And we know C. I mean, how do we go from like questions that are really like understandable and easy? I won't say that number 65 is easy. Because I mean, if you're like on the like, was it 78 or 79? Ugh. But still, compared to those last two questions, I don't know. And now we get 67. I can't believe the kids have me saying that. I mean, I get why they say it. It's a catchy brain rot, but maybe they have overkilled it. Okay. If we really want it to go away as adults, y'all, we need to start saying it, because as old people, if we start saying it, they'll stop immediately. Just saying. 67. Typically, individual on-site sanitary waste disposal systems are sized by the number of. So typically, individual on-site sanitary waste disposal systems are sized by the number of Trix, not the number of Trixes, but is it square feet, bedrooms, bathrooms, or people? What do we have? Anybody got a thought? Well, I'll tell you right now, it is not square feet.
I was going to say bathrooms.
And it's actually not bathrooms. Usually it is bedrooms. So this on-site sanitary waste disposal system is basically saying a septic system. And when you get septic tanks, yes, percolate. So you get like a perk test. It's not what they're supposed to be called. But when you talk about septic systems, you talk about, oh, this is for a 4-bedroom house or a 3-bedroom house or a 6-bedroom house. Because what happens, and this is something everybody should know, regardless of, what state you're in, because I think it's some number like 60% of all people in the United States are on septic systems. So you do want to know this. If this is your land and this is your house, then what happens? I don't know why my houses always have to at least have 2 windows. Now it's a face. But either way, what happens is you have this system. So when you flush the toilet or whatnot, take a shower, anything like that, all of this stuff goes to what we call is a septic tank. And there's usually a little opening where people can come in. And well, I don't say people go in there, but they can dig it out. Because what happens is, hopefully it's not that high. But this is kind of like an organic, what do you call it? A compost system. So when you flush or do anything, the solids fall to the bottom, right? And then the scum, the oils and whatnot, they float to the top. And then there is like right here another entry. And the somewhat cleaner wastewater then is distributed. It's distributed like out here into these piping systems. So it's weird. But when you're talking tricks about a percolation test, what they're doing is testing to see how much of this somewhat cleaner water can your soil hold. So if it soaks up a lot of poo water, what I like to call it, then maybe this could be a 4-bedroom house. But sometimes you get soil that just doesn't. Maybe there's a lot of clay or rocks in it and it can't soak up that much poo water. Then they might tell you this is a 2-bedroom house. And even if the floor plan was the same, in most states, if the septic tank says, hey, we can only do 2 bedrooms, assuming 2 people per bedroom, then that's a 2-bedroom house with 2 offices or something like that. So there you go. That's just a little knowledge about septic tanks, but it's usually going to be by bedroom. You say, oh, it's a 2-bedroom house. It's a 3-bedroom house. It's about how much the septic tank can handle. So that's going to be on bedrooms. I know you would think it would be on bathrooms, but why would we do that? That makes too much sense. But I guess if you think about it, it is pretty safe to assume a bedroom's going to have 2 people. And especially back in the day, remember, it was not uncommon in, the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s even to have, 3 bedrooms and 1 bath. But that's a lot of people possibly. So.
Candace, just a quick question.
Mhm.
So this question is under what kind of concept?
Well, in some states it's under environmental. It just depends on where your state might put it. But it is something you should know. I would probably put it under, if you have a construction chapter in your state there, or if you're just talking about like building basics or like environmental, because you somebody's got to do something with the poo water. Now, if you're in a city or a county, I should say city really, and you're on city water and city sewer, then you don't need one of these. But it is important, even if you are in a city, to check, because some of the older houses in older cities, you can have a house right smack dab in the middle of the city and be on a septic tank. In fact, where I grew up, which, I mean, you all know I'm back in Michigan. I grew up in Michigan, and I live in a city right next to Detroit. And y'all know the song 8 Mile, or, Eminem 8 Mile. I live between 9 and 10 miles, so I'm not that far from the city. Even though I was in a city, we had a septic tank growing up. So just because you're in a city doesn't mean you're always connected to city water and sewer. So I don't know. To answer your question, I'm not sure for California what section it would be in, but I do consider this to be major things that you need to know for real estate.
I
So,
appreciate it.
no
Thank you.
problem. Which takes us on to 68. The test done to determine the soil's capability to absorb leachate, I guess, from a septic system is called, and that is the PERC test, right? It's called the percolation test, or it's also known as a soil suitability. That's not how you spell suitability. Boop, boop, suitability test. So there you go. All right, 69. I'm Gen X. That makes me giggle. Investment value is the same as market value, the same as value in use, the value to a typical investor, or the value to an individual investor. I mean, this test is really trying to get us with these vocab words. I mean, right? So I'm going to go with either C or A. I probably would have gone with C, but market value. So, I mean, but why wouldn't it be market value? Because the investment value, I mean, also, who cares? I shouldn't say that to you all, right? Like there's something is it A? I would eeny, meeny, miny, mo between A and C. The value to a typical investor. Okay, so that makes me think, is there a difference between what an investor would pay and what somebody else would pay? I mean, maybe I am leaning more towards A, it's market value, because the person who would, if it's an investment property, the person that's buying it is an investor, and the investor's going to want it at market value unless they're saying the term market value is on. Well, you know what it's time to do, y'all. I mean, I feel pretty silly. This test has got me on some of these vocab words. Let's see what he has to say. Right? Uncle Ray to the rescue. Hey, Uncle Ray. The investment value, is it the same as market value? Is it the same as value in use? Is it the value to a typical investor, or is it the value to an individual investor? What does the term investment value mean if I got that on a test question?
Hey, Candace, great question. This is a nice little terminology puzzle. So, investment value is actually a specific term, and it's not exactly the same as market value or value in use. When you see investment value on a test, it's generally talking about the value of a property or an asset, specifically to a particular investor based on their own investment criteria, goals, and situation. In other words, it's more personalized. It's not necessarily what the open market would say the property is worth, and it's not just the value of how the property is used in a general sense. Instead, it's the worth to that one individual or that specific investor based on their unique financial goals. So if the test asks, that's your angle.
Dude, he is killing us today with giving us some right answer. Candace would have gotten this one wrong. He said our answer is individual investor. Interesting. Now, I know most states we don't have a lot on commercial or investment, but hey, if you learn something and you get it right, I'm here for it. Also, I'm learning stuff. So, okay, investment value is an actual term that relates to what an individual investor thinks what it is. Okay. All right. 70. The value usually associated with real estate taxes is it A, market value, B, appraised value, C, assessed value, or D, tax value?
I know this one, assessed value.
Right, girl? I'm right there with you. Like, oh, it's one I actually can do. We know it's assessed value. Yay. All right, 71. A transaction in which a father sells property to his son would not be used in an appraisal because a transaction in which a father sells property to his son would not be used in an appraisal because, is it A, it's not an arm's length transaction, B, it's an invalid transaction, C, it is a value in use transaction, or D, such a sale can use only the cost approach? Well, we're going to go ahead and eliminate D. It's not only use the cost approach. Remember, we use the cost approach if you've got a property, a subject property, where you're not going to have good comps. So maybe it's a unique building like a church or a dome home or, something like that. Or it's just a house that it's just so unique. Nothing else compares. And that's not this situation. Any guesses? Now, this is the second time we've seen this value and use thing, but yes, Caroline, the answer is A. You are wonderful. It's not an arm's length transaction. And what we mean by arm's length transaction is whether you're an appraiser or you're doing a CMA as an agent, a comparative market analysis. You don't want to include properties, like when you're comparing, oh, what should this property be sold for? You don't want to use a property where the sale is not arm's length, or there's something, one of those comp properties, the reason why it sold or the things that affected that property's sales price it's not what's going to be available to everybody. So in this case, of course, a father is not going to sell to his son at the same price he would sell to a stranger. The son probably is getting better terms. Or I've said this before, like I had some buyers whose parents were like they owned a bank. They were part owners of a bank. So the bank gave the loan. I should say they were on the board of the bank. But the bank gave them such favorable, I mean, like rates like 0.5%. Like, and this was back in the day before they were this low. Like, that's not an arm's length transaction because they could afford so much more to outbid other people because their interest rate was lower. So yes, the answer is A. It's not an arm's length transaction. By arm's length, it's got to be like there's no connection between the buyer and the seller that caused them to have some kind of deal. And that has to do with being like on an open market where it's just, hey, everybody had the same fair chance to go at it. All right. 7-2. A comparable sale has 4 bedrooms compared to the subject's 3 bedrooms. So I'm going to stop right there and I'm going to write it down. The subject has 3 beds. Okay, let's just try that again. And the comp has 4 beds. Just don't want to get it mixed up in my head. The 4th bedroom is worth $30,000. What would I do to that number? Would I add it to the subject's value, subtract it from the subject's value, add it to the comparable sales price, or subtract it from the comparable sales price? Well, first and foremost, we don't touch the subject. We never, ever, 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 don't ever touch the subject. So boom, boom. These two are not right. We do not touch the subject. Now, when it comes to this, I like to teach CIA, CBS. If the comp is inferior, you're going to add value to the comp sales price. And if you're going to add value. And if the comp is better, you're going to subtract value. Because think about it. Let's say this comp sold for $450,000. We're saying, hey, if this comp sold for $450,000 with 4 bedrooms, it would have sold for less money if it had 3 bedrooms. It wouldn't have sold for $450,000 if it had 3 bedrooms. So it would sell for less money. So we're going to subtract it from the comparable sales price. Remember, CIA, if the comp is inferior, you add, and CBS, if the comp is better, you subtract. Or yes, Claudia, I do like the CSS. If the comp is inferior, you increase. If the comp is superior, you subtract the alliteration of that. But I like it, showing me that you're ready for this exam. Ooh. All right, 7-3. Oh, and you know what this is a great example of? This is for my California people. This isn't a math question, but it is how math and making sure you understand the math could be tested on your exam. So there you go. 7-3. The method of estimating replacement or reproduction cost that requires you to know the original cost of construction of the building is. The method of estimating replacement or reproduction cost that requires you to know the original cost of construction of the building is the square foot method, the quantity survey method, the unit in place method, or the index method. Okay. I mean, this test is just really humbling me. So I know the square foot method, we're kind of just looking at, okay, well, what's the cost if you just kind of say, in general, this is the cost per square foot. It's $150 per square foot, regardless of if it's a bathroom or a kitchen or a bedroom or office space. We're just saying it's $150 per square foot. We know the quantity and survey method is the most exacting, like how many nails, how much, how much is how many light switches did you have? How many feet or yards of electrical wire and plumbing? Like it's exact, and it's going to include labor and the builder's profit. You got the unit in place method, which is what's most popular because you're basically saying, I'm not going to tell you how many nails I'm using, but I am going to say the roofing is this, the plumbing is that, the flooring is this. I've never heard of the index method, but what's killing me is this part that says the original cost of construction of the building. I'm assuming the quantity survey method because you got to have the profit and the labor. I've never heard of the index method. I hate not having an answer key. How am I supposed to learn? But thank you. This is why we have AI. So I'm just gonna ask. We're just gonna ask. Uncle Ray needs a salary, not from me, but from somebody, not me. Hey, Uncle Ray, the method of estimating replacement or reproduction cost that requires you to know the original cost of construction of the building is it A, square foot method, B, the quantity survey method, C, the unit in place method, or D, the index method?
So out of those options, the one that actually needs you to know the original cost of the construction is the index method. Basically, that approach uses the original construction cost and then applies a current index factor to bring it up to today's value. So that's your answer.
I just need to know from anybody watching or listening, did anybody's teacher teach you about the index method? Did any single person that is watching this, I don't care if it's now, today, oh, it is on my Facebook, Jamie. Yes. Did any of your teachers teach you about the index method? Like when he said it, I'm like, maybe I've heard that once before and reading a random thing, but has anybody just go ahead, put in the chat, yes or no. Like sometimes these random questions make me feel like I'm a terrible teacher. Like, how am I teaching you people stuff if I've never heard of these things? But then I have to remember the chances that the test is going to have this one question are slim because all of us could not have not heard of this thing. But we learned something, right? Jamie says nope, Ginger says no, and you study through yourself through the California book. So I was wrong. It's not the quantity survey method, it's the index method. Now, first, even though I'm irritated that it's a word I didn't know, one thing I will always remember from 20 years ago was taking my exam and my licensing exam, which I did pass the first time, but I know the only reason I passed the first time, not the only, but one of the main reasons is I saw questions. I went to the library and I did exactly what I'm doing here with you all, which is I went in and I found some other old books and I had questions that I didn't get in class, and I remember seeing them here. So we have one person, Caroline had it in your practice book, but it was like these kind of like one-off questions that could have been the reason why I passed. Maybe I only passed by 1 or 2 points. North Carolina doesn't tell you what your score is. You either pass or fail, which, to this day drives me batty. I want to know how I did. But I distinctly remember because I went through and I did some other questions not given to me by my teacher, I was able to answer some questions. So who knows? But now we have the index method, and now I feel like that's important to know. For me, I want to add this one to what I teach, not because I think you're going to be tested on it, but because I think it's a good question and it's an easy one to add. Index is you have to know the original cost. I think that's a good question. It's an easy enough thing to add and just kind of so that none of you all or my future students are like, what? I've never even heard of that before. So again, these are not to freak you out. We are doing random practice questions. We'll get back to more like normal stuff and things like, well, I can't say that, but it's normal. It's me. But don't worry about it. Just put it in your back pocket. And if you happen to get this question, hey, we'll take it. Take our right answer and roll on. Number 74. And this would be in your valuation appraisal chapter, by the way, everybody. The total number of years a building is considered to contribute to the value of the property is a good definition of, this one I know. The total number of years a building is considered to contribute to the value of the property is a good indication of A, chronological age, B, effective age, C, economic life, or D, remaining economic life. All right, we got a B. Yeah, Caroline, I mean, it's humbling to not know all of these answers, but I do like them because you never know. Chronological age, effective age, economic life, or remaining economic life. Now, first and foremost, while you're trying to think of the answer, does everybody remember where this comes in? This is under the cost approach. And remember, in the cost approach, first you have to rebuild it. How you're going to rebuild it. Then you're going to price it. So this is going to be the reproduction or replacement. Then you got to price it, which is going back up here. Are you pricing it using the square foot method, the unit in place method, all of those? Then you've got to depreciate it. And we have two ways to depreciating it. You've got the, the way where we do the obsolescence. So the physical deterioration, the functional obsolescence, the economic obsolescence, which is also known as the breakdown method. Breakdown. Oh, now I've got that song in my head. Dang it. And then you have this, the straight line method. So the first question is, does anybody know the answer? I got an effective age, but neither of those are right. So I'm going to explain it to you. Explain it. Boop. Go away. So let's say you have a warehouse, right? And let's say that warehouse, brand new, was $1,200,000. That's the new value. So what happens is an appraiser, because they've gone to appraisal school and have magical appraiser abilities, they're going to set the economic, that's terrible handwriting, Candace. The economic life, which I call the shelf life. If you've watched my video on my YouTube page about appraisals, this is what I related to the deviled eggs. I said in that video, hey, if you have deviled eggs on Friday, July 4th in North Carolina, and it's 99 degrees and like 97% humidity, and you're at a party and there's no shade, somebody brings deviled eggs, how long can those eggs sit out at the heat in that party with the mayonnaise before you're like, I don't actually think so. I'm not eating that. The shelf life, it's how long are these good to eat? So in economic life with a building, an appraiser has the ability to say, I think that this structure will have value and use for the owners for how many years? So maybe this appraiser looks and they magically say, hey, this thing is going to be good for 115 years. How do they come up with this number? They sprinkle magic appraiser butt dust. I don't know. I mean, I don't actually know what butt dust is, and that kind of sounds disgusting. But either way, you get the point. They come up with it. Not our job. You want to know how to do it? Go to appraisal school. So once you know the economic life, what you can do is you're saying, hey, every single year you're losing the same amount of money, so that in year, one, when it's new, this thing is worth $1,200,000. And in year 115, it's worth $0. How much money are we losing every single year? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take our 1,200,000 and I'm going to divide it by 115 years. And that tells me my loss per year. So handy dandy calculator, 1,200,000 divided by 115 means you're losing, of course, it's some weird number. It's $10,434.78 per year. That's your depreciation annually. So just to kind of round it, I'm going to say 10,500 just to make this easier. You're losing 10.5 every year. So after year one, after this building has its first birthday party, yay, then it's not worth $1,200,000. It's worth like $1,185,000, what is that, $89,500. Like you're losing that amount each year. So once the appraiser knows how much they're losing per year, they have to know, well, how old is it now? Because think about it. Usually an appraiser is coming in to tell you what an already existing building is worth. Now, could they be appraising a brand new building? Yes, but generally in these questions, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about a used building. So then you're going to be given one of two, well, you could be given three different pieces of information. You could either be given the chronological age, if I don't know if I spelled that right, but nobody cares. You got the effective age, or you're given the remaining economic life. So the chronological age, this is the actual age. If the building is 15 years old, so if they said it's 15 years is the chronological age, then that means you've lost the 10,500. Remember, I'm just rounding to make it easier, times 15. And whatever that number is, we're going to subtract it from 1,200,000. So I'm literally going to do 10,500. Again, just rounding. 10,500 times 15 means you have a loss of 157,500. So if I take 157,500 from 1,200,000, I get a new value of $1,042,500. Now, again, this is not supposed to be about the math, so, it's messy, but that would be our chronological age. It's based off of the actual age. Right? Another option they could give you would be the effective age. This is the age that it feels like. Like I am 48. Am I 48? I was born in 77. However old that makes me. It's like after I hit 45, I forgot being able to tell how old I am. Like who cares? I'm not in my 30s. I'm in my 40s. I'm almost 50s. I'm just going to start saying my age is 40s or 50s. I don't care. But my sense of humor And my maturity level puts me at about 7. Being generous is probably more like 4. I still laugh at stupid jokes. Like my favorite joke is, um, uh, what? I can't even think of my favorite joke. Okay, now I'm losing my mind. Maybe I need to tell myself that I'm in my 60s, right? You quit counting at age 50. I mean, at this point, I'm a grown person. I can be whatever age I want to be. But I'm officially, if you know me in real life, or if you're my student, you know that like you came to my 75-hour class, I'm like 4. So that would be my effective age. But think of it this way. We all, if you've listened to anything about me and teaching this class, you all know my dad lives in a historic home. It's 110 plus years old. 110 years old now, I think. Something like that. My father's house does not feel like a 110-year-old house. Maybe it feels like a 30-year-old house because you upgrade it. The effective age is how old does it feel, right? Sometimes a house can feel newer than it is. Sometimes a house can feel older than it is. If you, let's say, have 2 brand new homes and they're right next door to each other, let's say they were built in 2010. The exact same built houses, right next door to each other. But one had a single man with OCD, no offense to anybody with OCD. And, he's really clean and it's just him and he doesn't like anything out of place and he cleans it religiously. That's a 15-year-old house. It probably feels maybe like it's 14 years old because there's no damage to it. But if next door you had a family living there for all 15 years, over the years they had 7 kids, 7 dogs, 2 cats, and a rooster. I don't care how clean you think you are. That house is going to look lived in. So that house might feel, and should I mention all 7 of them are boys that like to play football, or sports people. Maybe there's a girl in there with one little baby girl. She likes to do destructive things. She plays field hockey. I don't know. Right? But that house is lived in. It probably feels a lot older than 15 years. So for the person who's just single, their effective age might be 1 year, and the family, that house might be 15 years old, but it could feel 20 years old. So the effective age is how old does it feel? So the test could say, hey, it's got an effective age of, okay, it helps if my thingy is working, boom, 20 years. Which means I take the 20 and I multiply it by the 10.5, and whatever that answer is, I subtract it out from the 1,200,000. Now, if they give you an effective age and a chronological age, go with the effective age. I don't care if it's if the house was built in 2010. If it's had the family living in it, nobody's going to pay as much if it feels 20 years old. But if you've got that single guy in there that's cleaning and it feels like, it's kind of like when you see, I shouldn't say old people, but like elderly people die and they got a new car and only drove it for like 5,000 miles. It could be a 10-year-old car, but if it feels like brand new, people are willing to pay more money for it. So it's about the effective. How does it feel? Right? So if you're given both, go with the effective. If you're given one or the other, go with the one you're given. And then if they give you the remaining economic life, they could say, hey, this warehouse has, 79 years of economic life left. Well, you could do one of 2 things. You could take the 79 and multiply it by the 10.5, or you could say, oh, the 115 minus 79 is, why would I choose a number I can't do in my head? 115 subtract 79. I mean, I could if I think about it, 36 years. So you've lost 36 years, or you just do the 79 times 5. Either way. So I know that was a lot, but that is how you do that problem. Remember, the words that you want to know here are, pick a color I haven't used, economic life, which is its shelf life. How good is it? How long is it good for? The chronological age, the effective age, and the remaining economic life. And you can go back to this video and watch this, but that's what you need to know. So now when we go back to our questions, what we have here is failure to communicate. That was the beginning. It's from a movie, but it's from a Guns N' Roses song too, because yay, Guns N' Roses. All right, so the total number of years, number 74, if you're just catching us up in here. The total number of years a building is considered to contribute to the value of the property is a good definition of, is it A, chronological age, B, effective age, C, economic life, or D, remaining economic life? I think we all know now our answer is C. Our answer is C. So, hopefully this is helping somebody. Yay. Oh gosh, it's already 4, so I gotta go. But remember, 43,560. And I really am gonna try to say, I'm gonna have to take this design and put a I passed on it. And so then when you all pass, you can be like, Candace, I want to order a shirt. Maybe I'll put it like on Canva or something. So you can order your shirt and be like, I passed. 43,560. I passed. Just saying. So, anything else? Once we get to the end of this, which I think is going to be next week, we are either going to do questions, or if you all want me to teach some topics, I can do that. It's all about what you all need, but what I need is for it to be a little warmer in this state. Next week, we'll have, of course, class on do we want to do Wednesday night, the night before Thanksgiving? Maybe I'll pop on the night before Thanksgiving, and then Friday I'll be at a family and friends game night, so it won't be Friday, but we'll figure it out next week. I'll just pop on live, or you can email me, but then, after Thanksgiving, then we'll go back to our normal. Guys, I gotta go. You love the shirt, Tricks? Thanks. I love it too. It makes me so happy. But I needed to say I passed. Oh, Claudia, you are so very welcome. And I will see everybody next
Thank
week.
you, Candace.
Happy
Bye. Have a great
Thanksgiving.
weekend.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.